I am here today with Tarnya. If you can hear some background chatter, that's because we are currently sitting at the Hand in Hand conference in West Bromwich, where we've met because Deborah from Redeeming Our Communities told us that we had to say hello to each other. So hello, Tarnya.
Hello, how are you?
I'm fine. So we're thanking Deborah from Redeeming Our Communities for this impromptu conversation. So before we get into what we're here to talk about for you, what's your experience of the Hand in Hand conference while we're sitting here?
Absolutely love it. So I brought 5 people from my team.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm the lead for the kids ministry at Ramp Church. So we've got 5 of them with me and it's been absolutely fantastic. I've been here before. We used to go to the one in Bournemouth. Is it Bournemouth? It used to be Eastbourne. Used to go there. It's been brilliant. Lots of tips, tools, strategies for equipping us for the children and for ourselves.
It is a lovely place to be. The feel is very unique.
Yeah.
I've been to a few conferences and festivals, and you know, I'm looking around the room, and everybody here, almost particularly, is looking at working with children, probably in a church. So it does make for quite a smaller group, but actually it's a very lovely feel. There's different denominations. Somebody was saying everyone's pretty much represented across the board, the denominations, which doesn't always happen. So it's great to have that as well.
It is.
So have you got a highlight that you've got already from the day?
Yes. So there's actually been quite a few highlights, but the one that particularly stands out for me is Matthew 28, I believe it was. It's about that all authority and teaching the children about Jesus. It's not just about these cute Bible stories, you know, Noah's Ark and the Tower of Babel and all of that, but it's getting them to experience Jesus in the classroom.
Amen to that. Now, Deborah's told us to talk about, not quite, but I'm going to get it wrong, you can correct me. So it's the Mental Health Crisis Hub in Wythenshawe.
Yes.
Got it right. Okay, only took 7 attempts. So just give us a bit of an outline then. So Wythenshawe is in, if you're listening around the world, this is in Manchester, which is kind of find London, go north, you'll hit Manchester eventually. And Wythenshawe is one of the sub-districts of Manchester. So the mental health club that you're doing, just give us an overview. What is it about?
So the Mental Health Crisis Hub, just to say as well that we've called ourselves CHAT, because those 3 words, mental health and crisis, we're not too sure. We're like, So we thought, what could we come up with that sums up what we are? So we called ourselves CHAT. Come have a talk. And it's a listening space for people to come, have a conversation about their emotional, mental well-being, and we have that conversation. We signpost people because there's lots of great things that are happening in Wythenshawe, so we can signpost people to the relevant places, and then people can self-refer to us or get referred from the health professionals. We also have private spaces if they wanted to book in and have a longer conversation with us. And what we do as well is to spread the message of what we do and also give people tips and strategies. We do monthly workshops, we do a podcast, and we have volunteers. So we currently have 18 volunteers from MMU and from the community helping us to support people with emotional and mental well-being.
It is that thing though, is that mental health crisis, or we don't want to talk about that, it doesn't sound very good. I'm fine, it's okay, my leg's broken, but I'm fine. But mental health, of course, generally speaking, you can't see mental health as easily as a broken bone. You can see some signs of pusking. But generally speaking, it's not as easy as a physical break of an arm or a leg where you have a crutch and there's a cast and we understand and we'll be patient and more compassionate. But of course, mental health is not such an obvious visual thing. Therefore, it's one of those things, well, let's just keep it, away from us. How did you get involved with this project then?
So I saw an advert for Mental Health Crisis Manager part-time and I thought that sounds really interesting. I've been working with people with mental health for over 17 years in a voluntary capacity. I was a lecturer for 15 years in health and social care, and it really sparked my interest. And I thought, I love working with people. I like to help people on their journey to wherever they want to be. So I applied for the post, and I only knew in post last November.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You're new in the job. So somebody hears about CHAT, they want to come and get involved. What is it that they are likely to come across? Because I know having some knowledge of life and living and walking around a few corners and falling over a few times, one of the big problems can be, well, what is it going to be? You're going to treat me like I'm weird? What am I going to see through the door? But these are real concerns, aren't they? So what are people going to expect when they come?
So we're based in the Health Forum. So when you're walking past, you'll see this big banner say, come have a talk. And it opens up conversation. People say, oh, so they grab a chair and they come and sit down and have a talk. And then they start talking about how's your day been, how's it going. Some people, I feel overwhelmed, I feel a bit anxious, I'm a bit depressed. And we talk about a few of those things, giving them some tips. And say, do you want to have a longer chat with us? And they're like, yeah, can I? And I say, yeah, why not? They book in, and then we have a private space upstairs, and we have Leslie, who's our senior navigator. She's a trained counsellor, and she will have those conversations with you. It's not telling you, you should do this, you should do that. She's very trained in that listening. Because oftentimes we want to tell people what to do. Oh, why don't you do that? Why don't you do this? Oh, no, you shouldn't do that. But we just listen. And people love that. They like to be heard. And then we say, what do you like to do? Some people feel socially isolated. There's great things happening in Wythenshawe. We will signpost. And it's nice because people are just down to earth. We're down to earth. They come, and it's really just having that chat, and then they're leaving with some tips and strategies.
It is important to listen, and being, Mr. or Mrs. Fix It, we stick a plaster on it, it'll all be off, great, off you go again. But so often we just need the opportunity to share our story. Yeah. And I think quite often we know what to do, we just don't know how to do it, because are we right in what we think? So I'm guessing that sounds like something of what you're doing. Yeah,
it is like you just said, your story matters. And that's why we're doing the podcast. We want to hear your story, and we like to hear those mental health story journeys of, I was once here, this was my turning point, and this is now what I'm doing. And it's just being heard, being understood, and then signposting people if necessary.
Because there are lots of other groups and lots of organisations who can offer bits and pieces of help. And sometimes we don't know that they are there. So we can find someone who can signpost. I mean, it sounds like it's the buzzword now, signposting, but do you know what? There's a lot of people, we don't know who can access which service. And even like, do I ring 999 if I've got a major emergency? Well, even that's quite complicated now, because, well, should I bother? Should I just go to A&E? So even the simpler stuff, perhaps, is complicated. And then you throw mental health into that as well. It can be quite daunting to know, well, who am I supposed to turn to?
Yeah. So when they come to us, we do say, do you think you're at risk? Are you in immediate danger? Then you'd, like you said, the 999. Then some people don't know about the mental health option, 111 press 2, if you need that support. And then if you just need some guidance, like you said, there's lots of great things happening in Wythenshawe. We will say, we've got an AI Wythenshawe bot. It's like ChatGPT. Cool. We say to them, okay, do you like knitting or something? And we type it in, and in the ChatGPT Wythenshawe bot, it will tell you all the places that are things that are taking place in Wythenshawe. And they're like, wow, I didn't know that. So we can just email it to them, or they can take a picture of it, and they feel so much happy. Like you said, there's so much things that are happening, but where do I go? What do I do? Someone said it's like, do you remember the Yellow Pages?
Yes.
It's like online Yellow Pages. So it's just letting people know what's going on, and they feel so much better. They go, I didn't know that was taking place, or I didn't know that was happening. And then they can go to that, and they come back sometimes and say, thank you for that. And then they're not so isolated now. They're going out, they're meeting new people, and feeling a lot better.
That isolation, though, that's something that I keep seeing and hearing about in different contexts. But we are very isolated. I think COVID. I don't think COVID did it. No. I think COVID just highlighted and kind of pushed away some of the rubbish that we put in the way, and realised, actually, no, we are quite a fragmented, broken society. We like our independence, thanks very much, which we don't function well independently. We actually don't. We need people. I really believe God designed us to work with other people, because we're visual people. We've got auditory abilities. We can hear other people, and it's important. So how have you found the people that are coming? I mean, are you finding a shift? Are people starting now to know about you?
Oh, absolutely. The numbers, the data. We track everything. We are ICB funded, Integrated Care Board, and we look at our data every month, and we're helping so many people. They're now knowing about our service. Somebody actually knocked on our door and says, I've just brought a gentleman up. Are you Chat? I said, yes, come and have a talk. So it's nice that people are knowing us. Even a doctor came downstairs and says, I've got a young gentleman that I think you can help. So it's great that the health professionals are recognising that, and people are just walking past and sharing it with their friends. And they're returning as well, which is great.
Well, coming once is one thing, but returning means I felt enough safety or comfortable, or I sufficiently valued that I value this enough to come back. Because if they didn't come back ever, maybe we need to change our approach. But they're coming back, so obviously it's something that is working.
Yeah, absolutely. And then sometimes they say, do you have any volunteering? I'm like, yeah, why don't you come and help? Even if it's one day a week, you want to sit at the table, talk to people about who we are, what we do. It's great, and how they can get involved. Not just, we help you and that's it. But there's an open door to more things as well.
Which is cool. So how many volunteers have you got working with you at the moment?
So I just love this. We started with nothing in November. And I thought, what strategy can I use to get some volunteers? So I used to be a lecturer, and I phoned my former boss and I said, we need some volunteers. Can we come in? And this is the work I'm doing. I know health and social care students need to have volunteering hours. And he said, yeah, come in. And then Andy, who's our volunteer coordinator, he did some amazing work with MMU, so we've got that door open as well. And we did our Google form. And then all of a sudden, people just pop. So we're having 18 people and we're inducting them. And what's great was upskilling them. We're doing the mental health first aid training, we're doing safeguard training, active listening training, all of those things to help them. But also we say to them, what do you need? How can we help? Because a lot of them are in their final year, want to go into clinical psychology or want to do pastoral work. So it's great that we can help them in that way as well.
Upskilling is important, teaching people, but to me, everything you just said, the most important thing of all those is the ability to listen, because it's often said, isn't it? We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth.
Yeah.
Let's listen twice as much as we talk.
Yeah.
He says as a radio DJ, he talks a lot. But actually, it can be quite hard to listen, because coming back to where you started from, you hear the problem, and you if you're compassionate about another person, you want to fix that.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe sometimes we need to quickly step in and say, let's get this sorted. But that's the rarity. Most of it's just listening, because we don't. Where else do we talk?
Exactly.
You go to your local church, would have a group for older folk and younger folk, and so that's kind of been broken apart. Pubs have disappeared, post offices have gone. All these hubs where we would actually be able to check in. I remember my gran years ago, there was a local postman, and he got into a lot of trouble because there were quite a few older folk on his rounds, and he'd knock on the door with the mail, and he wouldn't go until they answered the door.
Oh, wow.
And then we got in trouble. You need to be quicker. And he said, yeah, but I'm the only person these people see for a week.
Wow.
And I think that is probably why you got into trouble. It's also partly why there's so much we can do for our neighbours, isn't there?
Absolutely. Like you said, listen. Don't butt in and interrupt. Sometimes when someone's talking and you're already formulating in your mind your reply.
I know what to say here. Yeah.
But it's not that. It's absolutely just listening to what they're saying and then repeating back to them. So I'm hearing you're saying this. I'm hearing you're saying that. And then what do you think? And it's like mentoring. It's like, what do you think? Or what do you think can help you? What do you think can support you? And then helping them in that way.
If you read the New Testament of the Bible, the last third of the scripture, you see lots of stuff about how Jesus worked, and invariably, not every time, he would talk to someone and effectively they'd tell him their story one way or another, and there are many tales of that. So really, we're just doing what Jesus did 2,000 years ago, of saying, hi, how are you doing, and waiting for an answer. I remember, you'll be mortified by this, I remember being in a church one day. I had a really, really rough week. I don't even remember now, it's like 20 years ago. And I was in a really bad place, and somebody said, how are you doing, Andy? And I said, I'm really struggling, I'm really quite stressed out by life. Oh, brilliant, off you go then. And they wandered off.
Oh, wow.
I thought I might give you a reaction. If you weren't watching this, because you can't, that was a head slap, that was a mental head slap for you. Because people ask the question, but we need to be willing for the answer.
Yes, absolutely. We often, it's like you just say, hi, how are you? Okay, and off you go. But how are you is an actual question, and we wait for the reply and we listen to what they're saying because it's real, it's happening to them, and then we can then take the conversation on from there.
Off the back of that conversation where somebody said, how are you? And I said, bad place, great, off you go, knowing they hadn't listened. I always made a point after that of, if you're going to ever ask a question, you've got to be willing for the answer. And if you haven't got time for the answer, Please don't ask the question.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm so thrilled what you're doing in Wythenshawe near Manchester with chat. What are your hopes? You said you started in November. You're growing. It's almost like self-growing as well, kind of healing someone's life almost, and then they come back. So, what are your hopes in the next year? Are there more things you want to be able to do through this?
Absolutely. There's always more things. Leslie is the one with the ideas. And then I'm the one like, let's go. She was the one like, wouldn't it be great if we had a podcast? So we started the podcast. Wouldn't it be great if? So her latest one, we interviewed a great gentleman called Mark from Everyone Active, and he's a personal trainer, trained in mental health. Wow. So he wants to come and volunteer for us. So Leslie said, I've got an idea. Why don't we do Chat Active, where we talk about, so Mark comes on board and we build a team and we get people moving.
Good.
So we're like, we love this idea. So let's just put this plan together. And I'm here on the weekend and I said, I'm not available till Monday. She sends me this email, I've opened it and I'm reading it, I'm replying because I'm so excited. So we want to add more things. When people come up with great ideas, we want to look at how can we execute that, because it's, yes, we are doing this piece of work, but also how can we let others know what's going on? How can we help people in different ways? Because not everybody wants to sit and have a chat. No. Some people want to walk and talk, so that's where the Chat Active comes. Some people want to volunteer and get upskilled. So we're just building on some of the existing things that we have, making sure we've got a firm foundation in that, getting more referrals, self-referrals, and then adding to our programme and what we're doing.
Let's assume that someone's listening to this thinking, well, I don't live near Manchester. I live in Canada. How can I help my local community, my local church, my local group, my local doctor? How do I help them with something of what you're doing? What is it that I can physically do to help people to understand how do we create a listening space?
Wow, that's a really, really good question. And I think it's great for those that are listening. Having that listening space in your church, in your community is just fantastic. And I was listening to a story just before we came on this station, and a 15-year-old started a youth club with 9 people. And it grew to over, I think, 500 over the years, and it's been going for nearly 40 years. And if you have this idea of, I want to create this listening space, you go to your senior leaders, you speak to them, or the person that's running the community centres, tell them your idea, and if it's just that one person, you just create a space, it's comfortable, it's clean, and if it's just that one person you're helping, and word of mouth, it will spread, just go for it. Because if you've got this idea, I believe that God's given you this idea, or this thought, run with it, go for it, because vision is great, but acting on your vision is even better.
There was a thing in churches, if you're not a churchgoer, this may not be quite as relevant for you, but bear with me a second. There was a thing in church where someone came up with this great idea. Okay, we're going to pray about that, which makes absolutely great sense. You know, we're Christians, we believe in the power of prayer, so let's pray about that. And then you say, so we prayed about it, we think we need to do this. Well, let's have a prayer about who we can invite to have a prayer about this. And it's almost like that. And prayer's good.
Yes, it has its place. Yes, action is good.
We can't help everybody. It's impossible. But each of us can help somebody. So just give us something that somebody can do off the back of this chat. What can somebody do today that isn't going to scare the life out of them from even trying it? How can we engage with somebody? What's a good question to ask somebody to engage them in a conversation where we are then ready to listen?
Like we said before, keeping it simple. Being interested in that person. You saw them. Sometimes you see someone, you're walking past and they're looking a bit down. You go up to them, how are you? And you listen and you talk. And you just take your time. We're not rushing, we're not going anywhere. Just listen to that person. I think that's the key thing to do, is just go up to that person, how are you? Is everything okay? Can I help you today? And people are like, wow, they actually took the time out to stop, to listen and want to help. So that's what you can do.
And help one person at a time.
Helping one person at a time. We can't do it all. And like I said, we can't help everyone, but one person at a time.
And the thing that you did, which again, we're not being videoed so you can't see this, but you looked at me as you said the question, which was quite impactful to me, because I thought, oh, she's actually interested. I'm in the middle of an interview thinking she wants me to talk to her, which I already am. But that's the power of actually engaging with somebody. And maybe you're partially sighted, that isn't something for you that you can have quite so well. You're not going to pick up that question. But you know what? If you're looking at somebody, whether they can see you or not, they can hear you louder and more clearly, and all of a sudden you've got an opportunity to help them. I would just tack on the end of that. It's not my interview, but I would tack on the end. Don't ask the question unless you've got the time.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's more. I think causes more damage.
It does.
Thank you, Tanya. Let's see if I can get this right twice. So it's the Mental Health Crisis Hub.
Woo!
There we are. And chat, which I can't remember.
Come have a talk. It's like
I know.
CHAT. Come have a talk. It's quite clever, isn't it? Thank you.
No, it's very cool, but I can't remember. Right, thank you, Tanya. I hope you have a great rest of your conference. I'm looking forward to playing this on my show next week.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Finding out more. And we can now say we've done what Deborah told us to do. We've met, we've chatted, and it's been great meeting you here at the Handy Hand Conference in West Bromwich. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you know Pure 24/7 Radio has a shop? Well, we do. You can buy merchandise while supporting the work that we do here. Simply head over to www.pure247radio.org/shop. That's www.pure247radio.org/shop.